As you come in, make sure you let me know if you are a returning Aries crew member by saying hashtag Aries crew. Let me know if you're a first time watcher by saying first time watcher in the comments. I'm going to give you a shout out for stopping by and spending some time here. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Aries Rose and welcome to Aries Rose TV. Let's chat. We got some updates and trending topics to hit on. So we're going to kind of go down the list about the different things we're going to talk about tonight. So we have an update on the Caleb Wilson story and case. If you're not following that, stay tuned. We'll get you caught up to speed. Also did another live on that as well. If you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description when I post this video. We also have an update on G Money, little Ronnie, and his daughter Romani. They passed away last week, so we have some more information on that story. Oh, we got to talk about Roy Ayers. Roy Ayers passed away, I think it was maybe a week and a half or a couple of weeks ago. Then we got to talk about a nightmare flight that a couple went on where they ended up spending hours next to a deceased person. So stay tuned to hear a little bit more about that. So first off, let's talk about Caleb Wilson. So, Caleb Wilson was a junior at Southern University in Louisiana, and he was a part of their marching band, the Human Jukebox, and he was pledging to be in Omega Psi Phi, which is a historically Black fraternity, and a part of the process of him becoming an Omega required some off campus activities that were going on. And during one of those off campus activities, he ended up passing away. So he was rushed to the hospital early in the morning on February 27th or 28th, and he was taken in by a group of young men, and they said that he had passed out playing basketball, and they were at a park. I think I was hearing Breck Park, and he was left there, and they did not stay around allegedly to speak with officers. So it sounds like he was just dropped off. They explained why he was in that condition and maybe left. And then Caleb was pronounced deceased. And from there, the authorities were contacted. And when the authorities were contacted, they came and did an investigation on the scene and realized that there was more to it than what was initially stated. So they ended up finding out that it was not a park. Hi, crybaby to Earthling. How are you? Hola, Damien. Thank you so much for coming in. How is your week going? Let me know how you're doing in the comments. Appreciate you being here. We're talking about Caleb Wilson. He was a student out at Southern University and he passed away while pledging for Omega Psi Phi. You're doing well. That's great. Glad to hear. It's been a pretty good week so far. Thank you so much for being here. And they ended up finding out that he was at a warehouse. And in this warehouse, they were in a line, all the people were pledging, and Caleb was allegedly punched in the chest, could have been up to 4 times. And the last time he was hit, he ended up falling and he appeared to have a seizure and he just never regained consciousness. And allegedly, at that time, the people who were with him ended up changing the clothes that he was wearing, and then they waited about 10, 15 minutes before taking him to go get help. Yes, that is crazy. And I can imagine that they were scared. I'm not going to say that I would react a different way than they did because you never know what you're going to do until you're in those situations. And I'm sure they were scared, but in those moments, time is of the essence. So that fear, I wish they could have put that fear away and actually reached out to call 911 because Caleb could still be here today if faster action was taken potentially to save his life. But unfortunately, that didn't occur in this situation and he ended up losing his life. And now it's also affecting other people because there's been 3 people arrested in conjunction to this. So a 23-year-old named Caleb McRae has been arrested and charged with criminal hazing and manslaughter. So that's another life that's affected by this. Although he did not pass away, his life is going to be forever changed. Being associated with this case and being associated with somebody who passed away, potentially, allegedly, due to their actions, I'm sure that's got to be a difficult thing to sit with. Now, his lawyer does say that he didn't have anything to do with it. I believe at this point he maintains his innocence, but we are still waiting for this to go to court or trial if it ends up going that far. So we'll find out what comes from there. There's also been two other arrests since Caleb has been arrested. Kyle Thurman, 25, was arrested and charged with criminal hazing, which is a felony in Louisiana. And Isaiah Smith, 28, was arrested and charged with criminal hazing. And allegedly, Isaiah Smith held the title of Dean of Pledges and was in charge of the 9 pledges at the time of the alleged hazing incident. So I don't know if he was a part of it or not, but he was a part of it by being the person who was in charge of the line and presumably aware or in charge of the activities that were being done. Very sad, sad case because that's 4 lives, and potentially there could be more people who end up being arrested or charged with something in relation to this case. So this is just the first 3, but for right now, 4 people's lives were changed. One person's life was lost. He will not be able to have a family or graduate or even officially become an Omega because he didn't get a chance to finish the process. And now, instead of getting ready for his graduation or milestones in his life, his family has to prep for his funeral. So my heart definitely goes out to them. He was in the band. He was a trumpet player. I was in the band. So I definitely feel that affinity. He loved music, and everybody who spoke about him had very nice things and spoke very highly of him. So it is a very sad situation, and may he rest in peace. Crybaby to Earthling. Yeah, thank you for your comments. Definitely prayers to them and their family because that is a difficult time. You send your kids to school because you want them to be educated, to become productive citizens, and being a part of a fraternity was just a part of that journey and process for some people, and it's just very unfortunate that it ended up this way for him. I do want to point out that Omega Psi Phi is an anti-hazing organization. That's what they state on their website. They also have a statement about Caleb Wilson on their website as well. I'll do another video to kind of talk more in depth on that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're a part of a sorority or fraternity, definitely want to hear from you and get your perspective. I believe most sororities and fraternities, if not all, have an anti-hazing policy, but sadly these situations still happen. And in looking into Caleb's story, I saw that there were so many more young people who pass away pledging than I ever realized. So it's kind of scary because the anti-hazing laws have been around for a while, yet people are still losing their lives. So something's happening that's getting lost in translation here. We'll take a little pause to check out the comments. Is it Raju? Pajwan, thank you for being on here. Appreciate you stopping by. Let me know if you are a returning Aries crew member by saying hashtag Aries crew in the comments, or if you are a first time watcher, let me know first time. And if you can do me a favor and hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. It lets YouTube know I'm here, helps get the video out to more people, helps the channel to grow. We're trying to get to 1,800 subscribers. So if you have not already done so, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you can find out every time I go live, upload videos, post, all that good stuff. So we're going to go along to our next story, and it's about G Money, little Ronnie, and his young daughter, Romani. No problem. Crybaby to Earthling. Come back. Check me out on Thursday. I'll be back on here. Appreciate you stopping by. Have a great rest of your night or day at whatever time it is for you. So G Money, little Ronnie, and his young daughter, Romani, were in a car wash out in Houston, Texas, and little G Money Ronnie is a rapper out there, and sadly, the vehicle was pow-powed up, and his young daughter was in the vehicle, and she lost her life. And her father, upon the pow-pows coming into the vehicle, ran out of the vehicle, and I believe he left the vehicle to draw whatever was attacking them away from the car and away from his daughter. And he ultimately was chased around that car wash until he dropped and passed away. I believe he passed away on the scene. Very sad because this happened during the day at a car wash, so not a place I'm expecting for that type of activity to happen. And it was even sadder the fact that his young daughter was caught up in that. She was only 5 years old and it just had her birthday, I think, a day or a couple days before. So she didn't even really get a chance to be 5 years old. And I just strongly feel like children, families, people who are not a part of any situation that may have caused that event to happen should not be caught up in those situations. And it just really makes my heart ache that if she was in kindergarten, maybe that's about the age you're in kindergarten, she didn't get a chance to graduate or just really get to enjoy being a kid. She was just coming into getting out of that toddler baby stage. So this story really broke my heart. Now, I'm not familiar with G Money, Little Ronnie, or his music, but I can definitely relate as a human and as a mom to seeing a child lose their life and in the way that they both lost their life. Very sad. So there's been some updates there. Looks like there have been two arrests, and I don't know if there's going to be more, but as of right now, Adonis Robinson has been arrested and Jacoby Russell. So I believe they're like 22, 23. They're young. They're in their young 20s. And so 4 lives affected. 2 people lost their life, and 2 people now are going to be facing charges for taking 2 people's lives, and their lives are going to be forever changed. 4 people's lives changed for who knows what reason until this goes to trial. Just completely heartbreaking. And it's just unfortunate that there isn't other ways that disagreements can be dealt with that doesn't have to result in somebody losing their life, especially in this fashion. My heart goes out to the family trying to process one passing, but now you got to process two. That's a lot. That's a lot. And the mother of Romani, who I believe her name is Shaman Jones, I saw a video, a live that she was on where she was talking about she grieves a little bit different. And she had said that she's not tripping that her baby is gone, but it's the way that she was gone, the way it happened to her, because we're all going to pass away pretty much. And I'm paraphrasing, these aren't exact words, but that her baby is going out in style and she's going to be in Gucci everything. And so when I had initially heard that, it kind of took me back because I was thinking, man, I don't even think I could be on live. I'd be crying so hard if I lost any of my children. That would just be so devastating to me. The thought of even trying to continue to function would be very much one of the last thoughts in my mind because my heart would just be so broken. It would take me a while to be able to pick up and kind of just get going into life. So I'm thinking maybe this is kind of a defense mechanism and maybe she is in shock for everything that's going on. And then there's going to be a point maybe at the service or some point later on down the line where what happened is going to kind of hit her. And that's going to be the moment where I wonder if it's going to be a real emotional tsunami that she's going to experience because that's somebody that's the closest anybody's ever gonna be to you is your child. When you carry them, they are the closest humans to you because 'cause they're literally in your body, and to do all of that, to bring them here, carry them for however long that pregnancy goes, and you try to get them to grow up and to reach adulthood, and something like this happens that you can't control and at such a young age, at 5 years old, I'm sure it's gonna take her some time and some processing because it is still relatively new. But my heart aches for her because I definitely would not want to be in that position, and I can't even say what's appropriate to react or not in that sense. But I hope she does have people she can lean on and talk to, and that can be there as her support system because I think she's going to go through a roller coaster of emotions. And let me know if you are familiar with G Money Little Ronnie's music, or if you are from the Houston area and you know anything about it, let me know in the comments. Hello, Alyssa. And then we're going to move on to our next story. So, Roy Ayers recently passed away, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. He passed away at the age of 84. So, he was a vibraphonist, record producer, excuse me, and composer. He's been described as the godfather of neo soul, and one of his most well-known songs is "Everybody Loves the Sunshine." And if you saw that Straight Outta Compton, that was one of the songs Dr. Dre plays when he was younger and he's thinking of music in his head. That's one of the songs that he plays on there. And Roy was born September 10th, 1940 in Los Angeles, California, and he passed away on March 4th, 2025 in New York, New York. His musical legacy is long and it's very strong. He's got a great reputation, and his music has been sampled by a lot of different rappers over time as well. So that's usually a good sign of lasting music when the next generation is sampling it or can find a way to combine it with a new sound and it still has an appeal to people. To me, that's a sign of classic music. So may he rest in peace. We're losing a lot of musical legends. We lost Roberta Flack, Angie Stone. Angie Stone just crushed me. That one was so sad. She tragically passed away in a car accident. So I will be keeping an eye out for when her family's going to be doing a memorial. If they have the ability to stream it or it's going to be shown on TV, I'm definitely going to see that because I loved her music and her passing is really sad. And next, we want to talk about this nightmare flight that a couple from Australia was on. So they were flying from Melbourne to Doha, and during their flight, a person passed away. A person passed away, which is very sad. But what kind of happened next because of that was kind of like a nightmarish flight. At least it would be a nightmarish flight to me. And is it Aussie? If I'm saying that right, let me know in the comments. Hey, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor if you haven't already done so, hit that like button here. It lets YouTube know we're here and it sends out the video to more people. So I'd really appreciate it if you could stop by and hit that like button if you haven't already done so. And so, what makes this a nightmarish flight is the person who passed away was not on the plane initially deceased. They did board the plane alive. They went to the restroom, and then when they came out of the restroom, and this was after the flight had already started, so they had already departed and they were in flight. They came out of the restroom and just collapsed and passed away there. And so they can't really take the body off the plane because the plane is still flying. So they have to wait until they get to the next destination. And that much I do understand. But it was what they did next that I wasn't so sure if that made any sense. So they put this person next to a couple. So, and it was the couple Mitchell Ring and Jennifer Collin. And so one of the flight attendants, and this is from Qatar Airways, and one of the flight attendants had asked Mitchell to move over a chair, to which he did, and then they placed the person who passed away in his chair. So he was sitting next to the body and they just put a blanket over her. So, according to Mitchell and Jennifer, there were other seats on the plane that they could have been offered to move to, but they were not offered by any of the flight attendants a different seat. Jennifer said that another passenger did tell her, come sit by me and allowed her to move over into a different aisle, but Mitchell was not so fortunate and ended up having to sit by the body for 4 hours on the flight. Let me know in the comments if you would be comfortable with that, how you would feel about that. I know for me, that's a lot. 4 hours of having a body right next to me. That's in my seat, and there's other seats that you could seat me in, and you did not do that. And it was my understanding from what I was reading that it was a little bit challenging trying to move the body. So I'm not sure from the way the plane was if that was just as far as they could take this body or not, but they could have asked Mitchell and Jennifer to go to other seats if there were other seats available. So for me, that kind of made it seem like a nightmarish flight because you're stuck. There's nowhere you can go. You're on the plane. You just kind of have to deal with it until you get somewhere where you can get off. And he did say that when they did finally land, Then the emergency medical personnel come on to take the body off, but they did not wait until everybody was off the plane. They addressed the body first. So as they were moving the body, the blanket did come off, and Mitchell was able to see the person's face. So that was probably one of their maybe most memorable vacations, not all for the right reasons, but I don't think you'll ever forget a time you had to sit on a flight for 4 hours with a deceased body. So I'm sure it wasn't the one person's plan who passed away to pass away on the flight, but they do have to deal with it as best they can, and the Qatar Airlines says that it was handled within their protocol and guidelines. So they say that their staff did exactly what they were supposed to do and what's considered a part of the industry standards. And part of their quote as passengers were accommodated to other seats, and a crew member was sitting at all times with the deceased passenger for the duration of the flight until landing in Doha. It is an unfortunate reality that unexpected deaths do sometimes occur on board aircraft across the aviation industry, and our crew are highly trained to deal with these situations with as much respect and dignity as possible. End quote. So we'll see. I believe I saw that they reached out to the family of the deceased passenger and to those that were affected by that to offer compensation and other things. But that was one of those nightmarish flight stories to me. So I wanted to share that on here. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. Would that be your idea of a nightmare on a flight, or would you be comfortable with it? And it's just the circle of life. Let me know and make sure that you share this out and follow the page, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can find out every time I go live, post videos. Check out my community page. I'm going to be posting more on there. Let me know if you have any stories that you're interested in me covering, and if I can find information on it, I'll be happy to explore that further. So you can let me know on here, or you can put that on a post on the page. We're going to be back here Thursday night. Have a great rest of your evening, and thanks for watching.